kids, today we are going to learn a little bit more about our bodies and the bones inside of them. And we're actually going to stand up for this activity, so I need everybody to stand up and make sure you have enough room because we're going to be doing a little bit of a physical activity to discover what some of our joints in our body do. And joints are where two bones meet in our body and enable us to move, like our elbow, where our elbow and our arm meets. So first, we are going to move our shoulders. I would like you to move your shoulders up and down, and I'd also like you to rotate them forward and backwards. You might do this in PE class just to get you stretching. Now I would like you to move your hips. I want you to twist your hips, like maybe if you were dancing or if you were playing with a hula hoop. Okay, the shoulders and the hips are both a certain type of joint. They're both the same kind of joints, but we'll go into that a little bit later. Now we're going to look at some different joints, and we're going to try to see how the movement's a little bit different than the shoulders and the hips. First, I want you to move your head with your neck. I mean, this is how you move your head, and I just want you to, move it back and forth as if you're shaking your head to say, no, I don't want that. And I also want you to do it up and down as if you're saying, yes, I would like some of that, please. Now, that is one type of joint, and it shares similarities with another joint, which is your wrist. So I want you to put your arm out straight in front of you. Make sure you're not hitting somebody in front of you. And I just want you to rotate your wrist around. Okay, now what did you notice that was different when you moved your wrist and your neck that was different from moving your shoulders and your hips? You should have noticed that your shoulders and your hips move a little bit more freely than your wrist and your neck. This is because the shoulders and the hips are what are called ball and socket joints, and they do allow for more movement. The wrist and the neck, on the other hand, are called pivot joints, and they do allow movement back and forth, but the movement is quite a little bit more limited, not quite as free moving as the shoulders and the hips. Now, the last type of joints that are in our body are called hinge joints, and they're just like when you open and close a door. The hinge on a door allows the door to be able to open. Without it, you wouldn't have a door. It wouldn't be connected to the door frame. Some of the hinge joints in our body are our fingers, our toes, and our elbows. We are going to discover how the hinge joints work on our fingers. So I would like you to put your hand out, and I'd like you to close your hand up with your fingers in a fist and then stretch them back out. You can see how this is like opening and closing a door. They bend back and forth. And also with your elbow, you can straighten your arm or you can bend it. And then straighten it again and bend it. This is like if you were lifting weights at the gym. You might see your parents doing this sometimes. They are moving this joint, which is called a pivot joint. So you can tell them that next time they go to the gym or they're working out. So yeah, this is what I learned in science today. Those are just some of the joints that are in our bodies and just the different ways that they move. And later today, when we go outside, maybe we will actually get to explore a little bit more about how these joints work. Like maybe when you're shooting a basketball, you're using that pivot joint in your elbow. Or when you're doing hula hoop, you're moving your hips. Just some different things we'll look at. A follow-up activity that you could do with this would be to sing the bone song as a class and to stand up and get some more action out. Or you could also incorporate art into the lesson instead of music like the song would. And you can make a skeleton as a class. Of course, you would need to print out the bones ahead of time, have them cut out, and each child would need a copy of all the bones and some brads, and they could attach them with the brads. This would be a class activity, and you could label the bones as a class.